and they would have been dropped off right here over top of this fence.
So this was the fence they were going to try to get out of.
Fence. That was, look, there's a bay door right here. See that bay door?
Yep, right there.
They were gonna, that bay door opens, you know, the inmates can open and close it.
Doesn't look like they
would have come out of that and then drop them off over top of that first fence, and then they would have taken their chances trying to get out.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to After Prison Show, and today we're going on another adventure. In the back seat, we've got Terry and we've got Dave.
Hey.
And we're actually going to what once was like hell on earth, where a very horrible prison used to be at, a place called Southampton Correctional Center, and this place used to be referred to, while it was still operational, as a gladiator school. Terry ended up serving quite a bit of time at this prison.
Yes, about 5 years.
And during the time that he served there, this guy saw quite a bit of craziness while there. Terry, tell me a little bit about what Southampton used to be like.
Southampton is one of the oldest prisons, or it was one of the oldest prisons in the state of Virginia. And its original intent was to, or it evolved into a place where they housed younger inmates from like 18 to 25. So you could imagine, you know, you don't have that veteran leadership, I guess, if you will, or that experienced convict that can, you know, kind of control the inmate population,
the atmosphere of the prison.
Right, exactly.
And one thing I want to throw in real quick is, not only was this place somewhere that housed the younger offenders, you're talking about a place that housed young offenders with a lot of time.
Absolutely. When I got there, I met people that had been in the same exact cell for 30 years. Yeah, the same cell. They'd been there for 30 years. And there were multiple people on that camp at the time who had done 20, 25 years, all there, all at Southampton.
And when you got to Southampton, how old were you?
I was 22. I think I was 22 when I got to, no. Yeah, I was 22 when I got to Southampton. Yep.
And this was a pretty violent place to be at.
You know, leading to me going to Southampton, I knew the stories. Everyone knew the stories of the Hill. That was like the nickname for that place. They called it the Hill. And we should be able to see why they called it the Hill when we get here, because it was built up on a hill. All of the stories about this place were, there weren't any good stories, really. You didn't hear, you know, the prison rumor mill.
This is a sweet camp.
Yeah, you don't hear that. You know what I mean?
You want to go to Southampton?
Oh yeah, man, that's the place to go. Put in for your, you know, you always heard, oh man, you're going to Southampton.
Where did they say you were going?
Yeah. That penitentiary was definitely interesting. I can say that being there for 5 years, I got to know a lot of people, and I got to see a lot of crazy things go down.
It was notorious for violence.
It was at one point, I believe at one point, they completely quit shipping people to Southampton, and they removed the entire inmate population and then repopulated it.
Because it was that violent?
Because it was that violent, and the gang issue hadn't really grabbed hold to that place yet, but once it did, it really turned into it was bad. It was bad. The Department of Corrections really did not like the direction that was going. They fired the warden. They did all types of things to attempt to kind of corral the violence. And when they repopulated it, it did help a lot, but there was still the fact that who they were sending to Southampton you know, there were really no, I can't recall too many people coming in there just like on a probation violation or something like that. If you went to Southampton, you were doing a bid on a very, you know, on a severe crime.
Terry, you were telling me something pretty ironic about this place, and that was just how immaculate and how beautiful this place was, and it actually looked like it was a college campus.
It looked like the grounds of any old private university or anything like that. I had been, when I was younger, I'd been to a few schools looking, touring actually, trying to figure out what I wanted to do, and walking through the grounds at University of Virginia, that, man, Southampton reminds you of that. It did. When you walked outside of the buildings, you know, you walked out of hell and then walked into like a botanical garden. It was beautiful. There were potters all around, flowers all over the place. The lawn itself was green with little crisscrosses and things like that, and it, like, outside of every building, it was clean. It was, except for the chow hall, was kind of shady, but everything else was beautiful.
And you know, one thing that you were telling me about this place that I had never seen at any prison that I was at was that there were actually tennis courts at this prison.
Yeah, yep. They had a when I saw that, I was amazed. Actually, when you first get into the prison itself, like when you're coming in, you walk up this very, very long hill, and as you're walking up, you get past another large gate, and right here next to you, there was a tennis court, and I looked over at it, and I looked at the guard that was escorting us up, and I was like, yo, is that a tennis court? And it was like, oh yeah, guys out there play tennis all the time. And I'm like, yo, is this Club Med? What is going on here? They're playing tennis, and like, wow, do they have their sweatshirts tied around their necks too? I was like,
you know, to think about a prison that's so violent and has just a horrible reputation for violence, to think of how beautifully upkept this place was and that it had tennis courts here, I mean, that's kind of like it's just a really crazy thing to think about.
It's ironic.
Tennis courts. Did anybody ever get hit with a tennis racket?
No, never. The inmates wouldn't. They didn't want to risk losing the tennis court. No, there was a group of people. There was this guy, his nickname was Petro, and then there was the other guy named Perry. They'd been there. Perry had been there for 25, 26 years. He was an old head. Everyone respected him. He'd already poked a couple people up, so he didn't have to worry about anything.
He had stabbed some people there?
Yeah. And then Petro had been there for a while too, and he was good friends with Perry, but both of them played tennis every day. And they kept the tennis court clean. They kept the tennis rackets, you know, well maintenance. Yeah, they kept them. They did. They absolutely did.
And if anybody would have jeopardized that, they were definitely going to have some problems with
these. They were definitely going to have some problems. It wasn't going to happen. And everybody, you know, the main, like, I guess the alphas there respected them enough to know that don't mess with the tennis rackets. And same thing with just about all of the recreation, because you know how that is, man. The recreational equipment is a very, very, very important thing to the inmates.
Yeah, it's something that's definitely a privilege, and the slightest thing could get that taken away.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And yeah, I actually got pretty good at tennis when I was there playing. I'm pretty good at tennis.
It's like fun. TV in jail. What happens to the guy who gets you the TV shut off for a day?
Oh yeah, it's usually knuckle sandwich time.
Knuckle sandwich time.
Are you hungry?
You know, it's crazy to think about, but this road that we're traveling on right now to go to the location where this prison used to be at, this is the main road in the state of Virginia that leads from our area to all of the prisons. This is the first road that you take. So anytime that you're leaving from a jail going to prison, you're going to be traveling down this road no matter where you're going, because this ultimately leads to those receiving unit prisons, to just about most all of the prisons here in the state of Virginia. And just as we travel down this road, you know, it's just crazy to do so knowing that we're going back to a location where a prison once was, and that we're also doing so not being in the back of a transport van. And, you know, for Terry, you know, talk a little bit about what this ride is like when you are in the back of that van.
Well, the biggest thing is you know, in anything is the not knowing and just the apprehensiveness, just the anxiety and oh, as a matter of fact, this place right here, I stopped there. It used to have peanuts. I stopped there on my way home, and it was like an antique depot, and they had peanuts and things like that. On my way home from prison after doing these 9 years, like that was the first place I stopped and just got a handful of peanuts, and it was awesome to just to do that. I don't know why it was awesome, but it
well,
was.
because you were free, because you could go there
and walk in and interact with other people, and they had no clue that you know, they had no clue where I came from. They were just happy that I was a patron. Yeah, they were just happy that I was coming in and being a customer.
Terry, tell me about some of the crazy fights that you did see while you were at this prison.
All right. Well, I'll tell you the one that stands out in my head the most, or the incident. I'm not really going to call this a fight. It was more of an incident, and I recall the people's names and everything. I'm not going to get into that deep a detail, but I can tell you the situation that the whole thing revolved around. One of these guys was getting in contraband. He was bringing contraband in to the prison through the via visitation, and there was another person here who was extorting him over this contraband.
So somebody knew he was getting something in and they were taking it from him.
Absolutely. Well, they weren't taking all of it from him, they were charging him a fee, and that fee was getting expensive, and this person who was doing the extorting had a lot of influence in the penitentiary, and he literally employed some, you know, young bucks, some of the foot soldiers, if you would, and we were sitting down in the pod, and it's if you could imagine a prison, this is what it looked like. You know, it was a long hall looking thing with 2 tiers and the cell gates and all that, and then there were tables that ran the length of the dorm, or of the building, and you'd be sitting out there at the tables playing cards or what have you. I played a lot of Dungeons and Dragons when I was out there. It was in there too. That keeps your mind occupied for long periods of time. But so this guy was on the top tier, and everyone knew it was like a Saturday or a Sunday, and everyone knew, you know, when they saw this person come back to the building, they knew what time it was. You know, camp was about to get flooded. You know, things were about to get more interesting for the week. Well, he walks up the steps, and you can't see the stairs. The stairs are a blind spot. A lot of stuff goes down in these staircases. Yeah, a lot of stuff goes down in the staircases. Well, he walks up, and you can see when you poke around the corner, you can see him. And then the first door you get to is the upstairs shower, and then the cells start. Well, he walks into one cell, and he runs out. And when he's running out, this other guy is behind him. And what he has in his hand is the lid to a sardine can, or fish steaks. And this guy runs out the cell and jumps over the tier, lands on the ice machine, and you could see his teeth, like with his mouth closed. You could see his teeth. He had a slash like that went from his temple, like almost all the way down the side of his face, and he is just leaking all over the place and shaking the bars. He jumps right up in the front and starts shaking the bars, and the guy is running down the steps. And he comes out from around the corner of the stairs, and when you get there, the booth is centralized, and to the right of the booth is where the exit gate is, where this guy's sitting there shaking it, and he's screaming his tail off, and the other guy doesn't rightly care at this point and just comes right up behind him again, and like this guy's trying to climb the gate now. Well, you hear the code called. I can't remember what the code was. I think 1033 or something like that. I think that's what the or code 13 something. It just, you know, an incident, a fight. Well, you hear the code get called, and then the gate pops. They pop the gate, and right before dude could get to him again, they pop the gate, and this guy slams that gate closed and goes up into the front, and there's just blood all over the place. They ring the little bell, which, you know, represents lockdown, you know, lock it down, and they come running up in that thing deep as all get outs, man, and grab the dude. They take him out in handcuffs, and we never saw that guy again. The guy with the gash face we saw again, but we never saw that other guy again.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Real close now. There's a dirt track. You can hear that. You used to be able to hear those races from
the prison.
Yeah, you can hear them.
Well, we're getting ready to be here, and I'm just really curious to see what, if anything, is left of this place. Now, Terry's told me a little bit, saying that he believes that there's still a building or two left where prisoners used to work while at this prison, doing various things here. But again, really, we have no idea what we're gonna see when we do get here. I will say this, there are other prisons that are right here next to where this prison used to be. So there is a good potential we will be seeing those as well. So this right here would be the road that you would turn on to go to this prison.
Yep.
What kind of memories does this bring back right now?
I'm almost putting together the pathway that we're about to take. I want to say up here on the right and or left. It might be, no, it's on the right. There's like a girls' camp. There's like little white buildings. And then we'll end up going up the hill and making a right, I think, up here. And we'll be able to see, like, off to the left, what you should be able to see the beginnings of where Southampton used to sit, where the hill was.
Dude, I used to swing blade this shit.
He was on the bush crew.
So these fields are where prisoners would actually work.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And there's one prison that we know of for sure that's still here, which is Deerfield Correctional Center. And this is a medical facility, basically, where guys who are serving time in prison who have medical conditions, older guys, that's where they're at. But you can just see right now where we're at. I mean, we are in the middle of nowhere, fields and cows.
Man, I used to get in trouble for doing that. It riles up the stock.
Right over here is where one of the work camps.
So there's a prison right there. So what is this right here? This is probably...
This is the women's facility.
That's what it is now. That used to be the Southampton boot camp.
Ah.
That's Deerfield right there. With
And
the
then,
red roof.
yeah, there's Deerfield over there. You guys can barely see it. That's Southampton Detention Center across the street.
That was like the receiving, Southampton receiving, maybe. I don't know.
When I was there, that was a boot camp program.
Right.
And then up here on the right,
There you can see that guy. I think that dude running that little combine there has the old orange.
He had the blue with the orange shoulders on.
So the guy driving that tractor back there is an actual prisoner.
Here, this building right here. This was administration
for Southampton.
Yeah, this was.
Let's keep going straight.
This is where you got. This was where you got released from. Actually, they have built some other stuff out here. This was the original administration. That little building right there was the commissary. That little teeny little shack that you see right there was the commissary. And this right here is where I was released from.
What are these goats?
They are goaties.
So this was the building that you actually got released from right here?
Yeah, right there. That door right there on the right is where I walked out. And yeah, that was the commissary. That little building right there. See, there was fences that lined all of this little area right here, and that was the commissary.
You could see the prison over top of that building.
Let's bust a U-turn and let's see if we can go down a little further and see what else we can see. That is pretty damn crazy. There's a bunch of little baby goats. I don't know if they're babies, or is that a full-grown goat? Because they got horns on them and everything.
Well, those are full-grown. The little teeny ones over there were babies.
What do they do with the goats here?
I don't remember. They didn't have goats.
This is the way that they would have came to bring you in, because the right on the other side of that building where the steam's coming out was where they had the that big ass wall with the gated freaking entryway.
Right.
I know you remember that. That was how you got in.
Okay, if you look up here on the left, right here, where these white posts are, this would have been where the main housing units were, and there were 3 buildings that ran parallel with each other, and they stretched a good little ways down. They stretched from right about at the end of that all the way down to in front of the admin building. And these buildings up here is where the old school, there was the school used to sit, it's the same building, school sits right here. That was the carpentry, and then down the hill a ways, like if you look over here, these old buildings right here too, this was part of it. And then the flash freeze, they still have it. This is the flash freeze plant right here. See, look, Southampton agribusiness flash freeze plant. And that was the flash freeze plant.
So they still use that?
Yeah, absolutely. It's still, that still supplies
the water.
That supplies, no, that flash freeze plant supplies the Virginia DOC guys with food. Like, we processed fresh vegetables and fresh fruits, and you flash freeze them, and then you package them up. I tell you, there was an escape attempt from the flash freeze plant. That was an interesting story. The guys had all planned. That's Deerfield Correctional Center right there.
Yeah, you can see the towers.
I was there for a year or so when I was really young in the beginning of this bid. Yeah, that, man, holy cow.
Just bring back some memories?
Yeah, sure is.
You can see a prison transport bus right over there. Can we just follow this around? Will it loop around?
I'm not sure. I've never actually gone past this, but you got they've expanded this too.
It's a lot bigger than when you were here?
Yeah, they've added other buildings. And did they tear a building down? Maybe? I don't see the oh no, the gym's right there. I see the gym now.
But now this prison is where they would keep the medical guys and the older people who are serving time.
Yep, they actually have a job there that you can get called a wheelchair pusher. Yeah.
And you just push people around who are in a wheelchair.
Absolutely, for 22 cents an hour, all day, every day. Thank you, sir. No tips.
So you said you saw an escape attempt from the flash freeze plant back there. Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, these guys, all of the guys that were there, that were involved, they all had a lot of time, and they weren't looking to come home anytime soon. And you could get your forklift certification working at that flash freeze plant. And one of the guys with the forklift certification, what the plan was, they were all going to jump inside the little dumpster, and the guy with the forklift was going to pick the dumpster up and go out. I'll show you exactly where they were going to go out. They were going to hit the guard over the head with a hammer. They checked out a hammer, and they did hit the guard over the head with a hammer, and he didn't go down. That's where their plan kind of was foiled at that point. The guard didn't go down. They're going to knock out the guard, take his keys, and jump into the dumpster, drive outside, and it would have been right over here where this building is, and he was going to extend the forklift up over top of the fence and then drop them in between the inner and outer fence, because you had 2 fences.
Right.
You had an inner fence, and as you can see right there down that run, you have an inner fence and an outer fence. That inner fence is set up with motion sensors, motion detectors, to tell the central hub whether or not there's something's hitting the fence. Well, they were going to jump in and then just take their chances jumping that second fence with the razor wire, and that would have it's up here a little bit where they would have actually done this. right here, this building with this blue dump truck and these two trailer units
You can go right.
is the
We're good.
yeah, is the actual the flash freeze unit, and they would have been dropped off right here over top of this fence.
So this was the fence they were going to try to get out of.
Fence. That was, look, there's a bay door right here. See that bay door?
Yep, right there.
They were gonna, that bay door opens, you know, the inmates can open and close it.
Doesn't look like
they would have come out of that and then drop them off over top of that first fence, and then they would have taken their chances trying to get out. Man, the housing buildings used to sit right there.
And now nothing is there.
Nothing. Goat food.
You know, obviously there's a lot of prison stuff going on still. I mean, a lot of these places are still operational, and you know, we don't need to catch no trespassing charge or anything like that.
Absolutely not.
But you know, we did a little drive-by tour of this place and seeing what's still here and what's gone. You know, what kind of feeling and what kind of sense does this, you know, give you?
Really, it just brings back a lot of memories and a lot of regret, you know, and just disappointment in what led me to being there. You know, to these other people up here that are living and driving by it, you know, they're not having those same feelings that I was just having. You know, they're not having it. They look at this place, if not as a work opportunity, as something to avoid. And I'm looking at this place as, man, I cannot believe that I spent so large of a portion of my life behind on the other side of those fences.
You survived it.
Yeah, it makes me appreciate everything that I have right now. It puts this whole thing into perspective.
You were right here, Dave?
Yeah, at the top of the hill, it's like a U. The very top, the last places back there up that little trail.
Mm-hmm.
And dude, I remember being here. It was boot camp. It was, you know, trying to rehabilitate you as a young offender. And dude, they were crazy, man. They shut that program down for excessive force. They shut this program down. People were getting they were getting destroyed in this place. Like, they were beating you. It was crazy. And the crazy thing is, the real crazy thing is I'm in here and I begin to like get tired of it. So I start bucking and I quit. I was like, send me back to the jail. I don't want to be here no more, this and that. And you're allowed to quit this program because it's an alternative to prison. And they used to threaten you with prison. Mm-hmm. They'd be like, oh, you want to go back to the jail? And they'd take you to the gate and they would push your face into the gate and make you stare across the street. They'd be like, real killers are over there. You go from here, you go there. That's where you're going. And at 18, I was like, oh God. But finally, after I watched them hurt somebody, and that's when I kind of got mad. I bucked and I went and they put me in the side pocket. And if you want to know what the side pocket is, it's just like a holding cell when you're on a camp and they're gonna transfer you somewhere else. It's not the hole, because the people that are in the hole are usually a part of it, but the side pocket is like that transfer section where they're holding you till you leave.
We used to say back the bus up. That's what they used to say.
Yep, back the bus up. Hey, the crazy thing is, Terry, where were you at in 2001?
Right there, Southampton Correctional Center.
And I was on the other side, across the street.
Mm-hmm. And you guys hadn't even met each other yet. And the crazy thing is when they're stuffing your face into the fence saying, you want to go over there?
I could have met Terry then.
And your buddy Terry was already over there.
You know, I went to college at that place.
Yeah, back then they actually...
I got my GED in that place.
Back then, you know, I guess from what I've heard, they actually had stuff like that where you could take college courses. And
they brought Paul D. Camp Community College, which is right up here in Franklin, actually sent professors out there, and there was a lecture hall that was tiered and everything in Southampton, and we'd go in there every day, and you know, they offered the associates in arts and sciences.
So not only did this place look like a college campus, but I mean, it also actually sort of was.
Sort of was.
Minus all of the violence.
Minus all of the extracurricular activities that were going on.
You know, I want to say one thing as we wrap all of this up, and it's absolutely crazy, but as we were stopped on that road and allowing Terry the opportunity to just reflect on what it's like to see this place after so long, there was a car that drove by. Inside of that car, you could clearly see it was a correctional officer. And as I'm filming Terry and he's explaining this correctional officer is turning past our vehicle, and as he's doing so, he's looking at us like, and I couldn't understand why he was looking like this, but then it dawned on me, all three of us minus Cody are sitting inside of this vehicle wearing all orange. And you know, this guy's Junie's probably puckered up pretty tight right then in that moment, because he probably thought that he was driving upon an escape attempt right there.
Yeah. Cody's the guy that's been waiting for us to climb the fence.
Cody's the getaway driver. Crazy damn thing.